I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching this special edition of the Factor Election 2016. Let's get right to our top story, how the crash of EgyptAir Flight 804 is becoming a central issue in the battle for the White House. Both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are blaming the crash on terrorism while also trying to position themselves as the best terror warrior. Here's what we know so far about the crash. Search teams have found plane wreckage, human remains and personal belongings in the Mediterranean Sea, but so far no black box. Investigators still don't know what the cause of the plane to go down, but now there may be a new clue. Smoke alarms were reportedly detected going off on board moments before the crash, and terrorism is still not being ruled out. Trump was the first to call it that.
What just happened about 12 hours ago? A plane got blown out of the sky. And if anybody thinks it wasn't blown out of the sky, you're 100% wrong, folks.
Well, Chris, it does appear that it was an act of terrorism. Exactly how, of course, the investigation will have to determine. But it, once again, shines a very bright light on the threats that we face from organized terror groups. ISIS, of course, but then there are other networks of terrorists that have to be hunted down and defeated.
Hillary then went on to blame Trump for creating terrorists with his proposed Muslim ban.
When you say we're going to bar all Muslims, you are sending a message to the Muslim world, and you're also sending a message to the terrorists, because we now do have evidence. We have seen how Donald Trump is being used to essentially be a recruiter for more people to join the cause of terrorism.
Trump responded in a statement saying Hillary's comments just prove she is not qualified to be president. As we reported, a new Fox News poll shows registered voters trust Trump over Clinton to do a better job fighting terror by 52 to 40%. And today, after getting the endorsement of the National Rifle Association, Trump delivered a rousing, tough-on-terror speech saying if the good guys had guns during the San Bernardino attack, they might have been able to fight back against the terrorists.
They walked in, no guns on the other side. They had the guns, and they killed 14 people, many wounded, many in the hospital to this day, but they wounded many. But they killed 14 of their co-workers, and the co-workers thought they were friends. So there's something going on. Now, I tell you again, same story. If we had guns on the other side, it wouldn't have been that way. I would have, boom. If we had guns on the other side, it wouldn't have been that way.
Joining us now from Tampa to weigh in, Adam Goodman, a GOP strategist, and from D.C., David Tafuri, a former State Department official with the Obama administration. Adam, we'll start with you. So you saw that. Trump, very, very rousing speech, and that line, I would have gone, boom. Boy, you got a big round of applause for that one.
Well, I'll tell you, you're seeing in this square-off what this election is all about. It's not a cerebral election, it's visceral, where we want not scripted replies, but we want spontaneous reactions to what we're feeling. I love the words that Donald Trump, Eric, used when he first tweeted out, when unfortunately our hearts go out to the families, by the way, in this tragedy, when he first tweeted out, when are we going to be strong, smart, and vigilant? That's striking to the core, and I think, but when it's all said and done, you're about to see a new theme emerge in this campaign. And I like to say it this way. You may not always like what Donald Trump says, but you're going to love what he's going to do for America. And I think he's going to bring it. That crowd at the NRA feels it. He is commanding the stage. He is controlling the conversation. And I think everybody's ears are open to a new kind of leadership that is on display with Donald Trump.
Okay, David, so Hillary Clinton has said she's like Barack Obama. She basically wants to run as a third term of Barack Obama on many issues. So if she does that, and then you have that juxtaposition of Barack Obama's being weak on terror, he can't even say Islamic terrorism, and Donald Trump coming out right out of the box saying, this is a terror attack, ISIS, we're coming after you, it's got to stop. I think that really does define the difference between the two candidates, Hillary and Donald.
Look, Hillary Clinton has 4 years of experience as Secretary of State. Donald Trump is woefully unprepared to be commander-in-chief. I say that not just because he hasn't studied foreign policy issues, he doesn't care about foreign policy issues, and he hasn't put people around him who know foreign policy issues, though all of those things are true. I say that because of the shockingly ignorant things he has said about foreign policy. Yesterday is a prime example. He said that this tragedy, the EgyptAir tragedy, was terrorism, but there are no facts yet to suggest it was terrorism. If
I'm
you
not
can't
sure that it
properly
matters whether it's
identify
terror or
terrorism,
not, David.
you
I think
can't
what matters
effectively
is,
combat it.
I don't know if it matters whether it ends up being terror or not. What matters, or what's resonating among the Americans, we showed the poll, 52% to 40%, they believe Donald Trump would be tougher on terror. What's resonating is that he is perceived to be tough on terror, Islamic terrorism. Let me ask you something. You
but
talk
Eric,
about
he
Hillary's
called it terrorism
Let me ask you this.
Before anyone has any facts that suggest it is.
David, on the left, you talk about Hillary's experience. Yes, she's far more experienced than Donald Trump. I would argue that experience doesn't equal qualifications. Just because she has experience doesn't mean she's qualified to lead a fight against terror that, frankly, hasn't been fought for 8 years.
Well, look, you could criticize Hillary Clinton in 2008 for maybe not having foreign policy experience and not knowing the issues. But after 4 years as Secretary of State, meeting with hundreds of foreign leaders, conducting many trips abroad, and overseeing our foreign policy during a time of mostly peace and prosperity and effective foreign policy, and reaching out to countries that used to be enemies and making them friends, she has a strong record on foreign policy.
Let's talk about her record a little bit, Adam. Let's talk about her record. There are 4 dead Americans, the ambassador and 3 of his people in Benghazi. There's a deal on the table that most Americans think was a terrible deal with Iran. What is her foreign policy legacy, Adam?
Eric, I mean, just make the list. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, ISIS, the aggressiveness of the Russians, Benghazi. It goes on and on. She is defending a record of foreign policy that I think has led this country into peril and a more of a defenseless position, as opposed to what Donald Trump is. Instead of defending it, he's demanding what must be done. I think we're looking for a strong, determined, clear-headed leadership at the top, and I think the world is looking for America to stand up and be there again. I think we haven't had that for the last 8 years. I would love to have a debate on Hillary Clinton's foreign policy credentials. I think she has a lot of explaining to do, as they say. But the biggest thing in this election, we don't want to hear the gilded responses and the poll-tested dribble. Give it to us straight. Let us know how you feel. And I think that's where Donald Trump is scoring big.
You know,
right now.
David, in a strange metaphor, a strange situation today, almost exactly the same time going on, Donald Trump was accepting the endorsement of the NRA while there was a lunatic, could have been a terrorist, going at the White House with a gun. He gets shot. Listen, I got to tell you, which one? And you hear Donald Trump taking that. Meanwhile, this guy, and where's President Obama during this whole time? He's golfing.
Eric, accepting an endorsement from the NRA has nothing to do with foreign policy. There is no comparison between these 2 candidates. Donald Trump is like the Wizard of Oz, makes threatening statements, but there's a little insecure man behind the curtain. He can't talk about foreign policy in depth in any way. That's sad for him, but it's really insulting to our voters.
Now, let me ask you something, David. Who the Iranians, okay? They probably don't like us. We make a deal with them because they want their money back. They want their $100 billion. They don't like us. Who do you think the Iranians are more fearful of, a President Trump or President Clinton? Hillary.
I don't think the Iranians fear Donald Trump at all. Donald Trump is full of bluster. There's nothing to back him.
Do you think they fear Hillary?
You can disagree with the agreement with Iran, and there are strong reasons to disagree with it. But so far, it has been effective, and Iran has complied with the agreement, and Iran has denuclearized.
Have they?
And we need to watch what
Adam,
happens.
let me push back a little bit. Adam, we just heard this week that Rhodes, with senior advisor to President Obama, said, guess what? All that stuff we told you about that Iran deal, we were just saying that. We were just trying to sell you. You don't even know what's in the deal.
I can't believe, Eric, I'm hearing this from David. I mean, here's a country, Iran, that says death to America, and we give them cash in return. This isn't a policy of strength. This is a policy of capitulation and retreat. And I think Americans, by and large, have had it. They want a leader to stand up and make America feel something again. And the NRA, by the way, Donald Trump got this endorsement today, almost 6 months after the election. It took Mitt Romney almost all the way to the election to get this blessing. There's something going on. He is commanding the conversation, and I think he's going to do very well moving forward.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Adam and David, thank you. Great debate.